Hi, this is David for 10 on Tactics with tacticsandtrials.com. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and to hit the like button. Today we will cover the case of Garcia v. City of Tustin, a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision reached in August 2025. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in a divided 2-1 decision, partially reinstated a civil rights lawsuit against the City of Tustin and a Tustin police officer regarding the fatal shooting of Luis Garcia, a homeless man. The majority held that genuine issues of material fact preclude summary judgment on qualified immunity grounds at the pleading stage, while the dissent argued that video evidence clearly established the reasonableness of the officer's use of deadly force. In 2022, 2 sets of family members of Luis Garcia filed consolidated complaints against a Tustin Police Department officer and the City of Tustin under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, asserting Fourth Amendment excessive force claims and state law causes of action. District Court Judge Sherilyn P. Garnett granted defendants' motion for summary judgment on federal claims, finding the officer entitled to qualified immunity, and declined to exercise supplemental jurisdiction over state law claims. The incident occurred on August 9, 2021 at approximately 10 a.m. The location was 15,400 block of Williams Avenue, just outside a mobile home park in the city of Tustin, California. It is believed the decedent, Luis Garcia, was a homeless individual who was living in the bushes and hedges near the mobile home park. 2 officers from the Tustin Police Department were sent to the location. Garcia, while living in the bushes outside of the mobile home park, allegedly used a wooden pole or stick as a tool for collecting aluminum cans to earn money. The pole was described as nearly 5 feet long, extending from knee height to above his head when held vertically. At the time of the incident, Garcia had a bag of empty cans. Interestingly, one of the officers had prior encounters with the decedent. She recognized Garcia from 3 recent prior incidents. 2 of those encounters resulted in arrests of Garcia, one on a felony warrant for assault with a deadly weapon, and the other for an alleged robbery during which the victim was reportedly knocked unconscious. Initially, one of the officers began issuing verbal commands to Garcia while he was still inside the hedge. At first, Garcia refused to exit the hedge despite repeated commands from the officer, and all of this was captured by the body-worn cameras of the officers. Garcia eventually complied and began to emerge from the hedge. As he exited, he was holding the long wooden pole. The pole was being held vertically at times, extending above Garcia's head. One of the officers observed Garcia with the pole and exclaimed, "Garcia has a stick." Upon seeing Garcia with the wooden pole, both officers immediately perceived a potential threat. Both officers backed away from the hedge opening and then drew their weapons in response to Garcia being armed. One officer ordered Garcia to get his hands up as she pointed her gun at him. At this point, Garcia emerged fully from the hedge while still holding the wooden pole and was standing only a few feet away from one of the officers, approximately 2 to 3 feet. The pole was described as being held vertically, extending from Garcia's knee level to above his head. Garcia continued to hold the pole despite commands to drop it or put his hands up. The close proximity created what officers perceived as striking distance. Before any officer fired their gun, another officer deployed a taser against Garcia, and he was actively receiving electrical cycles from the taser device. Despite being tased, Garcia continued to hold onto the wooden pole. The taser appeared to cause involuntary movements in Garcia's body. While Garcia was still under the effects of the taser and holding the pole, the officer fired her weapon. This first shot struck Garcia, yet he continued to hold the wooden pole even after being shot the first time. After being tased and shot once, Garcia moved away from the officers. Garcia was now positioned approximately 10 feet away from one of the officers. Although shot, Garcia was still holding the wooden pole, and he turned in the direction of another officer. At this point, the officer fired a second shot at Garcia, which was fatal. The lawsuit was brought against the officer who fired her gun and her police agency, and the suit alleged a federal civil rights cause of action, 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, Fourth Amendment excessive force, primary claim against the officer, and 14th Amendment due process, interference with familial association. There were 4 legal issues considered by the Court of Appeals. Whether the officer's use of deadly force against Luis Garcia constituted excessive force under the Fourth Amendment, whether the officer is entitled to qualified immunity protection, whether genuine issues of material fact preclude summary judgment on qualified immunity, whether the district court properly declined supplemental jurisdiction over state law claims. In a 2-to-1 split, the court ruled. The majority decision reversed the district court's grant of summary judgment on qualified immunity grounds, affirmed the grant of summary judgment on the 14th Amendment familial association claim, reversed the dismissal of state law claims without prejudice. The dissenting opinion by Judge Bennett ruled that he would affirm the district court's grant of qualified immunity for the officer. Legal analysis, qualified immunity standard. To overcome qualified immunity, plaintiffs must demonstrate 1. Violation of a constitutional right, and 2. That the unlawfulness was clearly established. The majority emphasized that qualified immunity determinations require resolution of disputed material facts. Majority reasoning. Circuit judges Friedland and Tallman held that material factual disputes prevent summary judgment on qualified immunity. Whether our precedent clearly established that using lethal force under these circumstances was unlawful depends upon how the jury resolves the disputed issues of material fact. If a jury concludes that Garcia did not pose an immediate threat of death or serious bodily harm, Ninth Circuit precedent has clearly established that using lethal force would be unlawful. The majority identified 3 critical disputed material facts. 1. Whether Garcia's wooden pole qualifies as a deadly weapon. 2. Whether Garcia was actively advancing or lunging at the officer with the pole raised when he was shot, or whether the taser caused him to move involuntarily. And 3. Whether Garcia was resisting arrest or attempting to flee when, after being tased and shot once, he moved away from both officers. The majority relied on Longoria versus Pinal County, 9th Circuit, 2017, where the court reversed qualified immunity grants due to disputed facts regarding the officer's version of events. Dissenting analysis. Judge Bennett argued that video evidence eliminated genuine factual disputes. Because I do not believe the officer's split-second resort to deadly force under the circumstances captured by the uncontroverted video evidence can be described as plainly incompetent or knowingly violating the law, I would affirm the district court's grant of qualified immunity. Bennett emphasized the objective threat posed by Garcia. Even plaintiff's version of the facts, based on what was captured on video, establishes that Garcia was holding vertically a nearly 5-foot-long pole, extending from his knee to above his head, and was standing within 2 to 3 feet of Officer Silva before she shot him. He distinguished Longoria, noting that case involved officer credibility issues absent here. The decision involved questions of an officer's credibility in light of conflicting accounts, factors not at issue in the present case. The case centers on the Fourth Amendment's objective reasonableness standard for use of force. The key inquiry is whether Garcia posed an imminent threat of deadly harm, justifying Silva's use of lethal force. The majority determined this factual question must be resolved by a jury, while the dissent found the video evidence conclusively established reasonable officer conduct. This decision highlights ongoing tensions within the Ninth Circuit regarding qualified immunity standards when video evidence exists. The majority's approach favors jury determination of disputed facts, while the dissent advocates for judicial resolution based on clear video evidence. The decision reinforces that qualified immunity is not automatically granted when video evidence exists if material facts remain genuinely disputed regarding the reasonableness of officer conduct. Garcia versus City of Tustin represents a significant decision limiting qualified immunity protection, where genuine factual disputes exist regarding officer threat perception. The majority's emphasis on jury resolution of disputed facts reflects a plaintiff-favorable approach to qualified immunity analysis, while the dissent's focus on objective video evidence. The decision underscores that qualified immunity determinations require careful fact-specific analysis and cannot be resolved through summary judgment when material factual disputes exist, surprisingly, even with video evidence.